Hello, everyone.
Hello, hello.
Today we're going to talk about video games. It's a very novel concept.
I love talking about video games.
It's the best, isn't it? Yeah. So this basically came on a whim to me, where I was like, you know what? I kind of like it as a video idea. I want to talk about the video games I've played this year.
Yeah.
And I know the easy thing is like, oh, our top games of 2022. But the issue there is if you actually just go for games released in 2022, I think I can talk about 3 games and that's it. I played a lot of games that weren't necessarily released in 2022, but I played them for the first time in 2022. And I'm like, hey, I have things to say about my experience with these video games, and so does Lenny probably.
Yeah, that totally counts as well.
Yeah, so we're just going to talk about those. So yeah, I don't know what I'm going to title this, but keep in mind that they're not games of 2020. They're games we played for the first time in 2020. Which I'm very happy about because Lenny played Inscription in 2022. Did I say 2020 every time?
I don't
2022? Whatever. And I didn't, but now at least I can talk about Inscription because Lenny played
We
it
have an
this year,
excuse
so
to talk
very
about
good.
it. Yay. I also liked it as an opportunity to just talk about games that, don't appear on the channel.
Yeah. There will be games that appear on channel, obviously.
Oh, yeah, of course. Spoilers! I really like Kirby! But, like, other
Yeah,
games.
surprise. Yeah, I assumed there were going to be like 4 or 5 rhythm games on Lenny's list, but apparently he hasn't played any this year, even though it's like his bread and butter.
Like, the thing is, I have Musedash on my Switch, and, like, once in a while, I just started up and played a bit, but...
Wait, that was also on sale on Steam, I think.
Probably. I'm assuming that goes on sale a lot, yeah.
Anyway.
But it's
Yeah.
also like, rhythm game, fun, but there's not that much to talk about. I want
No,
to
that's
talk.
true, but you can tell everyone why a certain rhythm game would be better than another.
I guess, yeah.
It's like, I really like the art style, for example. Some games will definitely have more to say about than other games.
Yeah.
Especially if it's games we've both played, because then we just bounce off of each other. If it's a game only one of us played, it'll just be one person explaining and the other person be like, ooh,
I see.
that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
But I feel like after this, I might add more things to my games to play list than there are already on there.
Maybe.
Because Lenny will mention a game, I'm like, oh, right, that game. I should totally add that. And then there's another one, and another one, and another one. And I never run out of games to play. Help me. That's them for next year. Yeah. All right. Very good. Before the first one, I kind of want to start with one I 100% know we've both played. And, well, I'll just say the year kind of started off with a bang.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. In the end, we got 2 Pokemon games this year, 2 big Pokemon games, and I think we would both agree that this is probably the better of the 2.
yes. I mean, I'm not going to get into Scarlet and Violet now.
Oh, no, yeah.
But I mean, if you mention one, you do kind of have to mention the other. But yeah, Pokemon Legends Arceus, it surprised me in how good and fun and fresh it actually was. It was simple in its execution. A lot of things were cut from like the battle system and stuff, but I feel like just the freshness of the experience, I mean, especially for a game made by Game Freak, it was surprisingly fresh and innovative.
Definitely. Like just it can be overstated, just the breath of fresh air it was to play
The
this
breath
game.
of the wild,
The breath of the wild of Pokemon games.
even though it's not really.
Yeah. No, but seriously, like, just playing this game, be like, oh, wow, this is different. And it's like, okay. And because it's different, you go back into, like, figuring out how stuff works. And learning new things. It's like, with Pokemon, we already know how everything works.
Yeah.
So finally, it was something that was new and different. And it was really fun. Like,
Yeah.
it was also much better than I was, like... I hoped that it would be really good, and I was surprised that it also just ended up being very good.
Yeah. I mean, you can talk about a lot of things, but like, especially like as simple as the battle system was, or as simplified as it was, I actually really liked the agile and strong style way of doing things, and the way the turns worked, where it wasn't necessarily based on your speed. It's like, oh, well, it is based on your speed, but like if you're very speedy, you might actually get 2 turns. And if you use quick attack, it just adds to your speed and then you get 2 turns. And I mean, there's a lot of fun stuff you can do there. I'm not going to say it's 100% better than the standard Pokemon formula, but it's different. And that's kind of what we needed from Pokemon. It's like it has the nice mix of the familiar and the new. Honestly, that is Legends Arceus.
Yeah. There are still a few things that I was like, oh man, like I still think they simplify things a little bit too much. Like I still really miss abilities in this game.
Well, come on, Lenny. Regigigas has his ability.
Oh. And then held items as well, though that's less of a big deal. It's mostly the abilities I was like, fuck man, come on. But other than that, it's like, yeah, and just, I mean, to me, the number one is still the catching mechanics in this game are so good. I love sneaking around, prepping a Pokeball. Well, no, throwing a smoke bomb. Then so I can sneak around. Then maybe throw a berry to lure the Pokemon closer or make him turn around. And then I have to physically throw the ball to catch. Like, it's so good. It's so well and like surprisingly well thought out, where it's just like with ZR, you just throw a Pokeball. If it's an empty Pokeball, you can catch a Pokemon. If it's your Pokemon just boop, pops up behind, like next to you, and you can hang out. Like
the experience is very smooth.
Yeah, it's way smoother than you'd ever expect from Game Freak, which is used to having like a billion menus. And more than anything, this game was the first Pokemon game in a very long time, maybe ever, to really nail that feeling of like you are a trainer in this world, because you can interact with the world, you can get stuff, then you can get attacked by Pokemon, like they can status you so you're paralyzed or like you're poisoned, like like there was way more interaction. It wasn't like you're just walking around and like it's all like set dressing. I mean, a lot of it still was, because it's still a problem with Game Freak, but like you felt much more present in the world, and that felt so good. Yeah, just like it's just
there's a lot of things you can still point at, like, oh, that's kind of clunky and pretty or kind of there you see the Game Freak.
Yeah, of course there's still moments
there
like
are so many things to like, and like especially because it's different, and the exploration and the just, I don't know, experiencing this new world. There's just so many things that I genuinely liked there that I just could ignore for the most part. All of the, Game Freak isms that were still present. Like, the copy pasting of trees. Yeah, that's lame, but it's fine because, hey, I'm engrossed into the adventure.
Yeah. Yeah, like I really hope that this becomes a thing where I don't just keep it with Arceus, because I really want more of this stuff. But mostly, like, I want them to expand on this stuff. And like, there were some small little problems. Maybe they can sand those over a little bit and like just make it even smoother. Like, there's so much potential here. I really want them to continue. And I mean, for me, the obvious thing would be to make Pokemon Legends
Johto?
No, Pokemon Legends Unova, because it's about the original dragon before it split into 2.
Oh, yeah, okay, I suppose. But I don't know, I feel like Johto, ancient Johto, just sounds very interesting to me.
That could also be very cool. Like
because Johto is already relatively, like, rustic in its design, right?
Yeah, but then maybe it'll be very, like, oh yeah, I recognize this stuff. Maybe it's cooler if it was a very modern region that is old-timey.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, you can see what Castelia is before it exists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can still have like, the 2 big rivers and like, but then like maybe they're building one of the bridges, but then the other bridges aren't there yet. Like, I don't know, you can do cool stuff.
Yeah.
With this.
It's also just, games. In this game, the art style just really jives with my jam.
Yeah, me too.
It's just like the fact that you can always see Mount Cornet in the distance, but it's not like in Scarlet and Violet where it's just like, mountain in the distance. No, it's a stylized, faded, one color of silhouette. The shape of Mount Cornet. It's just so nice looking. It's like a painting.
Yeah, the art style in this game with like the woodblock print style, like the muted colors, like
and the menus even.
And the menus, yeah, like everything in that game was like, oh wow, they really like. I mean, it really felt like, they put in the effort.
Yeah. And also, I feel like this is the right way to do nostalgia. it's not like in your face. Do you remember this? But suddenly, like, you're walking through a forest, and then the music starts playing, and then suddenly you hear like kind of whims and notes of Eternal Forest.
Yeah.
And it's not like in your face, it's Eternal Forest, but no, it's just there subtly, and it's so nice to have that.
Yeah, because it's also not like straight up a remix of Eternal Forest. It starts off as like its own thing, but they're like, you know, it kind of sounds like Eternal Forest.
Yep.
Like just little hints. So yeah,
like even the lake.
Yeah, the lakes as
well.
well.
There's a bit after completing the game. I don't think I could replay it again and like have the most fun experience, because you do realize after finishing a game kind of how, like, once you've explored an area, you know where everything is. For Breath of the Wild, you can play that again and find completely new things that you didn't know before, because the world is just so huge. In this game, there's kind of no real whimsy left after you finish the game.
Yeah,
and you realize there's not really that much interesting stuff to find. It's not like, oh, you can find this windy cave, and then all the way in the back, there's this like rare Pokemon. This game doesn't have that. It doesn't really hide cool, interesting things. But, you know, the original exploration was very fun. I just don't think it's very replay worthy. Yeah, I guess. Well, if you want a more thorough thoughts video, we had a 2-ish hour stream after the game released 2 weeks later, and we talked about our experience with the game. So there you get more like in-depth stuff. But I feel like this was a nice summary of how I feel about Legends Arceus.
Yeah.
It was surprisingly very, very good seeing what studio it came from and how they are forced to push out games on a yearly basis.
Yeah, it was very refreshing, for sure.
Yep. And I really hope they keep going with the Legends series.
Me too.
I'll just leave it at Pokemon Legends Arceus. That's it. Bye.
Yep. But don't do it next year. Don't you fucking dare do it next year. No, like in 2 years maybe, hopefully.
Well, take a break for one. Well, no, not take a break, but like try to make a game in the span of 5 years instead of like 2 years. That would be great. Really polish your game. They won't. But it's fine. If we get a Legends Arceus every once in a while, it's like fresh and new. I'm good, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's about it for Legends Arceus.
There we go.
Did you expect this one?
I mean, I knew it was going to be on your list, yeah.
Yeah. Again, I don't know how much I can say about this, but especially since Lenny hasn't played it. I did send them videos of my playthrough a little bit, and I talked about my experience with it, and well, I showed him some fun scenes. Lenny isn't too big on strategy games, which I think is really too bad, because I really like strategy games. And one strategy game that I played this year, Triangle Strategy, is kind of a spiritual successor to Octopath Traveler.
Well, I mean, I think it was the same development team.
Yeah.
But mostly, yeah, like definitely like the same HD 2D style. Yep. And I would say people would probably say it's more of a successor to games like Final Fantasy Tactics and Tactics Ogre, games like that, I think. Because it's like isometric, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But you can move the camera.
You can change the camera,
yeah.
But yeah, it just I don't really know why. I guess it's just like, oh, you know, strategy game, fine, let's play it, because Octopath I always thought looked interesting, but then I never went actually played it. It is on my list, and I actually do have the game.
Yeah,
maybe next year. But yeah, I played Triangle Strategy, and I think I really liked it. It is probably better than Fire Emblem, in my opinion. I probably think that because it deviates from what Fire Emblem is, and it's probably kind of what I needed in my strategy games. Because I've played a lot of Fire Emblem, and it does get samey after a while.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like for me, like, you know, strategy games, like I kind of know Fire Emblem, but like this one less so. I mean, other than, you know, looking at trailers and stuff. But like, yeah, my big thing that I want to know from you is, how does this compare to Fire Emblem? And like, in what ways is it different, and in which ways do you think it's better than Fire Emblem?
In a lot of ways, it is. It's hard to call it more complicated, because the reason I feel that way is probably because I played. I've played Fire Emblem, and I haven't played triangle strategy type games. So it took a long while for me to get comfortable with how the flow of the game worked. It actually took a surprising long time. Battles took so long just because even moving my characters felt like, oh, wait, but what if I move there? I don't know. Like, there's a few things I can point to that really, really changed the flow from Fire Emblem. In Fire Emblem, you got player phase, enemy phase.
Yeah, but here it's like there's just a progress bar and everyone just slots in like enemies and allies.
Yep.
Yeah.
So faster characters will move earlier than slower characters, but it might be like, oh, your character moves first, and then 3 of the enemies move, and then 5 of your characters can move. It's all based on their speed, and I think that is really interesting. I really like that. Then another thing, just like Fire Emblem, there's a ton of characters. Great. The only problem in Fire Emblem is like, especially more recent Fire Emblems, everyone is good. And in the way of like, in Three Houses, if you like, literally anybody can become a sniper and just solo the game, because snipers have the most broken skill in the game in Hunter's Volley. Even healers, characters that are made to be healers, just make them a sniper and they'll probably be pretty good. In Triangle Strategy, everyone's kit is so vastly different. Everyone has their cool little niche abilities. And you might think like, okay, then clearly some characters are better than others. Kind of not. Like, honestly, in Triangle Strategy, every single character is viable.
Yeah, everyone has their use.
Yes, and it's so fun. Like, you don't need to worry about like, oh, which characters do I train or which do I not train? It's just like, pick the characters you like, and you'll probably find a cool, neat little strategy you can do with all those characters. It's just so fucking amazing. Yeah, because
that.
I mean, there's definitely characters that are better than others. Yes.
Yeah, but that's definitely the thing that I remember when we talked about it, is that like every character has their own skill, but they're all so unique and like and super just weird sometimes. Like that's weirdly specific, but then like that they can interact in very interesting ways. Yeah. Like it's also interesting, like you got height differences on maps, and some characters can jump higher than other characters, so they can actually jump up up 3 height units, but other characters might not be able to do that. So then you might need a character that can build a ladder. It's like fucking they're just he's one of my favorite characters. It's like a blacksmith guy. I think his name's Jens, and he is like a trap builder guy. Like, he can ensnare enemies and lower their speed. He can build traps that are like spring loaded, and if an enemy walks on them, and to be able to use that to your advantage, you need to know where enemies will move. So you gotta like predict, oh, where will they move? And if they step on the spring-loaded trap, the trap flings them all the way along the line of the trap. And if there's a ledge, it throws them off the ledge and does falling damage. It's just, and then they're down a cliff and they can't get you immediately. There's just so much fun positioning in Triangle Strategy. I absolutely love that aspect of it. Voice acting was okay, in my opinion. It wasn't that amazing. There weren't that many like big names attached. Yeah, but no, voice acting was generally fine. It wasn't outright bad at points, but it wasn't like amazing. Like sometimes, I mean, a lot of voice acting can be. We're a lot of newer people, so maybe that's why. Or maybe just apparently people have also told me that Square Enix doesn't have good voice directors. I don't know. That's what I've been told. Don't take this as my absolute word. I remember the voice acting in Octopath Traveler being generally very good.
Interesting. I mean, there is good voice acting, but it's not like all of it.
Yeah, just some are better than others.
Yeah. No. Story-wise, that's also a thing. Like I'll compare it to Fire Emblem again. Fire Emblem definitely has a lot of illusion of choice, especially in the recent games. There's like, what do you think? Avatar character, and you have 2 choices that are either the exact same, or a choice where if you pick the weird choice, the other character will go, no, we don't think that's a good idea. We should do the other thing instead.
Yeah.
Fire Emblem has so much of that. But in Triangle Strategy, it's kind of also the thing in this game where every once in a while there's going to be a vote between like all the main characters. Okay, this decision that we have to make. What are we gonna do? And then depending on how your morals have shaped throughout your journey by like answering certain questions from like townspeople and stuff, like how do you view this issue or this political blah blah blah. Yeah, politics in this game are fucking insane. It kind of dragged me down at points. Like, fuck, politics are the worst. But yeah, and depending on how your morals shape up, you might be able to convince characters that are set in their ways, like, oh, we must do this thing. And you might be able to convince them otherwise if your morals shape up with the other path. It's generally pretty easy to just completely choose which way you want to go. But I think it's still a fun idea to convince characters like, oh, maybe we should do this. Mm-hmm. And like there's route splits, and it's not just a novelty, it's actually like the story does change vastly. Like, oh, some characters die or others don't. They do all lead to the same ending, where it's like they converge, and then they just come back to the same one final battle where the final choice of the game is. Mm-hmm. But the way there is going to be vastly different. I think it's a fun game, maybe to play with friends and like, oh, what are you doing? And then kind of share your thoughts. The choices aren't also like just, oh, it's obviously this choice is better. It's sometimes it's legitimately hard to make a choice. But it's like, oh, do you give up your the prince of the nation and your best friend, or do you protect them and just basically start a war because of it? Mm-hmm. It's like, well, I mean, you would give him up because you wouldn't want to start a war, but like your house's like duty is to protect the prince. Mm-hmm. But then the prince is also like, well, I don't care. Just, give me over to the enemy and then my people will be safe at least. Yeah. So there's a lot of nuance in the choices, and I don't know.
Yeah, that's good.
I really like it.
Like, it would suck if it's just like, do you want the good choice or the bad choice?
Yeah, no.
It's good that there's always like some gray where it's like, okay, so this would be a good choice. But then this thing happens and that's not good. Like, you have to weigh like the pros and cons and stuff. Like, maybe sometimes pick the lesser of two evils. Like, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like at one point it's like, oh, do you want to do drug trafficking for this like politically corrupt religious figure, or do you go tell on him to like the higher ups of his political system? And I was like, well, obviously I'm gonna tell on him, because oh my god, why would I smuggle illegal drugs for a corrupt religious politician? That just does not make sense to me. And then I talked to another person who was also playing the game and was like, well, no, I smuggled the drugs because I really needed his help. Otherwise my people were gonna starve. I was like, well, yeah, I guess.
Well, shit.
So yeah. So it's super fun, and I don't know. I really like the combat system. I really liked the nuance between the characters. Every character has his own niche, and like you might not use certain characters, and then here, later at level 30 they got this ability. They might seem bad at first, but then once they get that ability, it's just so fun to use them, and I really like it. Mm-hmm. Yep. And I feel like that's about it for Triangle Strategy. I would recommend it if you like strategy games. It is very fun. Mm-hmm. Oh, and New Game Plus, just you keep your levels and your skills, and the enemies also scale with you. So New Game Plus isn't just, oh, you're back at square one with your weak abilities. No, you keep going with scaled enemies with the abilities you have. So it's also just super fun.
Yeah.
You can keep building.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
All right.
Oh, and also, as you can probably hear, the music is pretty good too.
Yeah. Well, I'm not recording the music along with us, but I'm going to put it over again.
Well, yeah, again, yeah.
Yeah, Deep Within the Ground. It's probably one of my favorite tracks in the game. Very nice. Mm-hmm. All right.
Well, if we're gonna go over to my list, I think this would be a nice. We can nicely transition from this HD 2D game to another HD 2D game that came out this year.
Oh yeah, I mean, I heard a lot about that.
Yeah,
but I haven't played myself.
Yeah, well, the thing with Live Live is that basically it's a Super Nintendo game that never got released outside of Japan. Mm-hmm. And it is a game made by the team that would, after this, end up making Chrono Trigger. Like, this is kind of like a precursor to Chrono Trigger, kind of, in a lot of, like, in different ways. yeah, and then they remade it and released it in the West for the very first time. Of course, HD2D looks gorgeous. Now, the big thing about Live Alive is that you have... Wait, how many characters is it? Like, is it 12 characters? Or just 8?
Yeah, it's all like different time periods, right?
Yeah, but yeah, the big thing is you have 8 different characters to choose from. Every single character has their own story in a completely different time period. For example, you can play in like prehistoric times and you play as like a little caveman boy. Or you could play in the Wild West where you're like a gunslinger.
There's like an RPG, right?
Yeah, there's feudal Japan where you're like a ninja. You can be in like the vast, far-off future and you're like a little robot. The big thing is it's not just like, it's all like their own chapters in this game. It feels more like they are 8 different games just in one game, because they all have completely unique game mechanics that are completely unique to just that storyline. And a lot of them are very cool and very interesting, like very experimental.
How long does one path take to play through?
One path doesn't take, I'd say like, I mean, I might be a bad fit because, you know, I'm very slow, but I would say like, you can beat one path in like 4 hours maybe.
Okay.
So like,
is there then a true end if you beat everything, or?
Yes. Then because that's the thing. You play all of the characters, and then there's a final chapter where all of the characters come together. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, like, yeah, all of the chapters are very different from each other from a gameplay standpoint as well, which is very cool. And to give you some examples, for example, there is also a chapter which I really liked in like ancient China. And you play as an old warrior monk who's the master of a certain type of kung fu. But the thing is, he's old and he decides, I need to find a disciple to pass on my teachings. So then what you do is you find 3 students. Throughout his chapter, you just fight your students. And instead of leveling up your character, you're leveling up your students. Like all the experience goes to the students. And if you fight your students to train, the moves that you use against them, they will learn those moves.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and at the end, one of them becomes the new master. They know the moves that you taught them. Yeah. But then another example, the feudal Japan one, you're like a ninja and you have to sneak into a castle to take down an evil warlord. That chapter has a stealth mechanic where you can hide behind like a screen. You have to choose how to play it. Are you gonna play it by sparing everyone? Or are you gonna kill everyone? And depending on what you do get like a different reward at the end of the chapter. But then the far off future chapter where you play as a little robot, there isn't even any combat, and it's just purely a narrative about you being on a spaceship where suddenly a murder happens, and it's like this mystery about what is going on here. And there's no combat. It's just purely following this narrative. They're all super different, and
I like that.
Yeah, it was very cool. Because they're all so different, it's also like fun, like, you know, you switch things up from time to time and, you know, different characters. And you can really see, like, you know, if one chapter isn't really your thing, it's okay, because then the next chapter is going to be something completely different. But what's interesting also is that, of course, the battle system, it is very different from what you might expect. Like, if you look at footage of the game, basically you have a grid, and you have you and then enemies, and they're all on this grid. And basically you can move around on the grid, and a progress bar appears, like fills up as you move. So then you can see enemies are gonna have actions when I move like this amount of spaces. And the moves you can do have an area of effect. So for example, you have a lot of different moves you can do, but then it's like, okay, so this attack is like, you know, up, left, right, down, 1 square. So it's like, if an enemy is right next to me, I can attack them. Or sometimes it's like, no, this only hits if they are 4 squares away from me. And then there's a lot of different things you can do. Like, for example, there's a ton of different statuses you can give them. Like, they can't use this type of action if I do this, or, you know, you can lower their stats. The ninja can throw like a firebomb and then the ground is on fire. And if they're standing in those squares, they take damage. But then some enemies, like for example, if it's a robot, electric terrain is gonna heal them, for example, because enemies also have like weaknesses and resistances. So there's a lot of things to think about. It's pretty cool.
I think it's interesting. This all starts to sound like a strategy game, which I thought you didn't like.
It's a bit more strategic than the usual like turn-based RPG. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, but no, it's definitely interesting. And of course, it looks gorgeous with the HD 2D. The music is phenomenal because the music was all done by Yoko Shimomura, but then it's now remastered in like this beautiful. And again, also cool, every chapter also has like incredibly different music as well because, the time periods are so different. So the music reflects that.
Yeah, I do like it when video games have like vastly different styles of music for different areas. Like, I mean, I know it's silly to compare them, but Paper Mario is also kind of really good at that.
There's only one thing that is like, that really is kind of a bummer with this game, and that's the fact that, and that's the thing where it really shows that, oh yeah, this is a remake of an old game, and that's the fact that it can be very obtuse with information.
It didn't update it in that.
Yeah, and to show you an example that was like, that's just annoying. The ninja chapter, right, where you can choose, do you want to kill everyone or spare everyone?
Can you go down the middle?
I mean, you can go down the middle, but it's kind of meant to be do one or the other.
Okay.
Because if you just go down the middle, you don't get any special rewards or whatever.
Okay.
So I decided like, okay, I'm going to try and spare everyone. I'm going to do it stealthy. And, if you get into like a random encounter, well, there are no random encounters. The enemies like run around. But like if you get into a battle, you can run away. So, okay, so that's fine. But the thing is, there are several moments in that chapter where you can just walk into a room and it's like, surprise, it's time for a mini boss that you can't run away from. And there is no way of knowing that was going to happen.
Yeah, and then you're forced to kill an enemy, and then
that run is ruined.
Pacifist.
So if you want to do it full pacifist the first time through, the only thing you can do is just keep saving. And then if you come across the thing, shit, okay, reset, go back to an earlier save, and then now I know that I can't go in that room. So and that is very unfortunate because that's like it just sucks.
Could it be that you're not meant to do one or the other on your first playthrough, where you're actually supposed to go down the middle first time through?
Maybe
kind of like Undertale,
I guess, I don't know, like, because this is a game that definitely, and I can see how Undertale, like how Toby got inspired when playing this game.
That's actually a thing.
Oh yeah, no, Toby has mentioned that Live was very inspirational for him. Like, dude, cool. The final boss of every chapter, the music track, which I'll probably send to you so you can also have play at some point, is called Megalomania.
Oh, really?
And, yeah.
No way.
Yeah, and the thing is, when Toby was making, it was the Earthbound Halloween hack that he did.
Yeah.
He wanted to use Megalomania for the final boss, but it didn't work with the Earthbound sound font or something. So he was like, okay, fine, I'll compose my own thing. And then he made Megalovania.
I know it's not really time to mention this, but can I just real quick again say like this dumb little edgy kid in his basement that made an Earthbound Halloween hack is now making music for like Pokémon? What the fuck? I'm so proud of him.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, it's like the inspiration was clear in like music and like okay maybe like the the thing that you can play as pacifist or kill everyone in the ninjas chapter, but mostly just like how experimental all these chapters are.
It feels indie-like.
Yeah, they're all so vastly different. I really liked it, and the things like I haven't even beaten this game.
Oh, so you don't know what the golden root is?
No, actually. I don't know what the actual like final thing is. I'm definitely going to go back to the game, but like even not finishing it, I already know this is one of the coolest games that I played this year just because it's so unique. And its approach to things is so different from other standard RPGs. I think especially back like in the 90s.
Yeah, that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
It's a rare thing to see, and usually those become cult classics, so it's always nice to see. Mm-hmm. I'm going to check real quick. Is it also on Steam? Or just on Switch?
I think it's just on Switch, but
I'm gonna check if it's on sale.
I assume it'll probably get a PC release down the line at some point.
Oh, by the way, is there a physical release?
Yes.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah,
I hate that because I wanted to buy Persona, but it's like, but shouldn't I just get the physical? Okay. Oh, sorry, that's my Switch. If you have more to say, please do so. I'm just checking the eShop.
I don't know. I mean, I already mentioned, the visuals are fantastic, the music is fantastic. Oh, I guess one other thing I can mention, the voice acting is pretty good. I think at some point it's like, some of them are maybe a bit less good than others, Big thing that I was like, oh, Oh, that's interesting because like I feel like that doesn't really happen a lot. Is for example the ancient China chapter, the old monk that you play as, is clearly voiced by a Chinese man or Chinese American at least. Because he has a thick Chinese accent, you can hear it. And then in the far off future chapter where you're like the little robot on the spaceship, the crew of the spaceship, you have the inventor guy who built the robot. He's like very British. Then there is a mechanic girl who is Australian. Then there's like a gruff, like, American, like cool guy. Then there's another guy who's with like maybe like an Indian accent. Maybe it was like surprising amount of like different accents and stuff. And I was like, oh wow, you don't really hear that a lot. I feel like when dubbing, it's usually like English or British.
Yeah, when they want to be fancy, it's British.
Yeah.
When it's just like normal, it's American.
Yeah, but then it's like Chinese accent, maybe Indian accent, then Australian accent, like a lot more different kinds of accents. And I don't know, that really struck to me like, oh, interesting.
That's your piece?
Yep.
Would you recommend it very hard?
I would recommend it, yes. If you like RPGs, but you also like just something different, then I definitely recommend Live Alive.
I mean, to me, you sold it with saying how every chapter is so different.
Yeah, that's definitely the main
sounds
selling
very
point.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I do wonder what the like final, the true end is like then.
Yeah. There we go.
Pretty obvious.
Yep.
Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Yeah, it won Best Family Game, I think.
Yeah, congrats with your Game Award, Kirby.
Yeah, congrats, Kirby. I've said this before, where I think Kirby somehow is a video game series that can just release a game, and I know, okay, if I play this, I'll generally just have a good time.
Yeah, that's why Kirby is the most consistent game series where they're always good. They're not always great, but they're always good. There is no Kirby game that I would say is actually bad. Some of them are, okay, but it's never worse than that. And at its best, it's like fucking awesome. Like
this Kirby and the Forgotten Land.
Oh my god.
We did an entire playthrough of the game on the channel, so if you want to see everything, you can go watch that.
Yeah, we're not gonna spend too much time on this game, I think, but
not too much. But I mean, there's a couple of things we can talk about. Yeah, I feel like I'll start with this. I mean, it's not been 2 years. I don't even know what time frame I gave you. Like, oh, let's talk about this again in a couple of years. Like at the end of the playthrough, I was like, I don't know. I know how I feel like saying it's my favorite Kirby game because I hate saying that right after playing something.
Yeah.
Because I'm very susceptible to recency bias, where if I just played something and I really liked it,
you're like,
I'll always say, oh, this is so good.
Yeah.
It's like, talk to me again in 2 years. My mind will have changed. It's like Fire Emblem Three Houses. When I played it for the first time, I was like, oh my god, it was so fun. And I'm like, oh god, there's so many things I don't like about this game. But for Forgotten Land, no. There's still a lot of things that are fresh in my mind. It's enough new and enough old, exactly how you would want a Kirby game to work in 3D.
Yeah, like,
I don't know how they nailed it the first time, but they did.
Yeah, it's so baffling how perfectly the transition to 3D went.
Yep.
Like, when you think about, okay, how does the game work in 3D? Like for example, like, okay, with controls and stuff, how does Kirby work in 3D? I'm like, I have zero complaints. Just do more, please.
The controls are amazing. The witch time, like the game is relatively easy, but that's fine because like you need to get used to the new 3D environments. And I do think it's very hard to make. Well, no, it's easy to make a 3D game too convoluted and hard controls wise, where it's like hard to wrap your head around it. But for Kirby, it's just so nice and simple, and the gameplay isn't that hard. Where like everything was just so fun to play and experience. We still fell in pits and like got destroyed by certain bosses. Yeah. But generally, it was never like, oh, dude, the game is just so obnoxious to get around. No, it's just, it was perfect the way the game worked. And the bosses were a highlight.
Oh my god,
of the game. I loved the bosses.
Yeah, and again, it's just like the addition of the witch time made the game, like, I feel like that single thing makes, like, adds an extra point to my score for this game.
Yeah. This is so cool.
That was genius.
Oh, and one negative point is I think the multiplayer is leans too hard on little brother mode.
Yeah, that could have been
I don't know how they could have done it where it didn't feel like that. Split screen, I guess, but you don't want to do that. Because then, like, or even if there's, for example, if you bring 2 Switches and you can do local multiplayer with your own screen, that also wouldn't work, because if I go somewhere, then, like, that part needs to be rendered, and then the game might struggle. So they probably did the best they could. It's fine in multiplayer, but I feel like the core experience is probably better if you do it single player.
Yeah, like
unless you're Kirby, because you just get free reign.
Yeah, and also like maybe because I feel like, you know, Kirby's Return to Dreamland, you could just play as 4 Kirbys. I think.
Yeah,
like I think it's okay if you just put in another Kirby just to play the game, because I do think it's a lot more fun if the other character can also just, you know, have all of the copy abilities.
Yeah, as well, you're very limited.
The moveset is cool, but, you know, you can't do everything like Kirby. But yeah, no, this is so good. It's just so good. Like I waited so long for a 3D Kirby game, and they've been working on it for so long. Like they made like little steps with every game to being a more like, okay, how would it work in 3D? And it was like, the wait was so long. I was like, oh god, maybe I'm hyping this up too much. But they just pulled it off.
Yeah.
They just did it, and it's awesome.
Is it nice that they take their time to really refine it before releasing the game?
Yeah. Like if you think about how crazy is it that they wanted to make a 3D Kirby game, but then they were just like, okay, let's just, with every game we release, put in like a little bit of 3D, just like test the waters. Until they're like, okay, now we have the experience, I think now we can do it.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Like, I guess you could say, like, oh, there's not that many abilities. Fair point, I suppose. But the abilities they did bring to 3D, I think about 90% just outright worked perfectly how you would want them to work.
Yeah, exactly.
The one I don't like is Bomb, but
yeah,
oh well.
Yeah, but I never liked Bomb.
I guess Bomb is never really that fun of an ability.
Yeah, but no, it was like
every other one
really fun, and the fact that you can upgrade them, and you know, some of them are just like oh, you throw a blade, you throw a bigger blade, or like ice, more ice, or like fire, more fire. But then there were some that added like new moves, or just little things, like for example, you know, you have sword, then if you upgrade sword, it's like, okay, you can't dodge anymore, but you now have a shield that you can use with spikes on it, and instead of doing a spin attack, you have like a massive like overhead.
Yeah.
So adding in new different moves and stuff, because at first I was like, oh man, there's no there's the movesets seem pretty limited, and there is no like menu to look at how many moves you have. But I think that is kind of fixed by just adding in moves to different upgrades. And it's like, I don't think that because it was their first 3D game, they were like, oh, maybe we need to make the abilities a bit more simple. Because I mean,
I do think that's part of it.
Like the final sword upgrades, those are a lot of moves, so you can do crazy shit with these controls. So I definitely think that, but yeah, they did pretty well.
I feel like, because you said, oh, the final sword upgrade, I actually forgot to mention this at the beginning. I was gonna say, like, okay, just in case, spoilers for all of these games, but I feel like so far we've been pretty good.
Yeah, I think we can keep it relatively spoiler-free in these discussions.
Like, even for Legends Arceus, we weren't like, oh yeah, and you know, the final
also the ending. Oh yeah,
was pretty cool.
Yeah, because I think like with this video, we're just gonna talk more like generally.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're gonna get into specifics like, oh, but then the final boss of this. Wow.
Yeah.
Even though yes, it's a Kirby game, and the final boss was fucking awesome. So shocker.
Yeah. The music was also really fun. Also the title. Also, and here we are. Yeah, to me, there's a lot of memorable moments. They are probably amplified, and that always happens, or usually happens, when I play a game along with Lenny. I just remember it even more fondly.
Oh, definitely.
And that's the same for Kirby, definitely, because I mean, there's also a lot of dumb bullshit.
Yeah, because like
but just fun.
Yeah, because like if this wasn't my favorite Kirby game, just the experience of doing it together with you would bump it up to being my favorite.
Remember when we spent like 5 minutes of an episode fighting over the password system?
Good times.
Oh fuck. Yeah. I guess that's about the summary of Forgotten Land. It deserves the best family game, I guess.
Yeah, if you haven't played it already, please do. Like, if I really think about it, like, what would be my game of the year? It's very hard to just pick one. But thinking about it, it'd be like for me, it has to be Kirby. It's like it's everything that I dreamed it would be.
That's tough for me. I feel like it's definitely up there.
Yeah. And if you haven't played Kirby or Kirby games were like, yeah, I don't know, like this is the one to like really give this one a try.
I think if you're not into Kirby games, this one probably also wouldn't do it for you.
I don't know, maybe the shift to 3D will do it.
I guess. Yeah, and I mean, it is a little easier and a little more simple. Yeah. So yeah, maybe.
It worked with Arlo.
Yeah. So yeah, you know what? Fat Guy's seal of approval, it probably is my game of the year. Of the games I've played that actually released in 2022.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, on this entire list, the games that released in 2022, for me, there's probably just like 3. But, you know, yeah, I liked it. It was very good. And then one, for me, that I honestly don't have that much to say about, but I felt like I had to mention it. I know you've played it as well, but that's fine. Oh, this year, for the first time, I know it's a very old game. I mean, very old. I played Katamari Damacy for the first time. Well, the reroll on the Switch, and it's just such a dumb, fun game.
It's like Katamari is just a happy place. It's your happy place.
It's just you can. That's what I did before bedtime. I just played a level, and it's so nice because a level is like anywhere from 6 to 12 minutes.
Yeah, they're pretty short too.
Play the slow, roll around, have fun. It's such a Japanese idea, but it's just so fun. It's dumb fun. Roll a ball of crap into a bigger ball of crap.
It's just inherently satisfying.
Yep. And you know the characters. I mean, the great king of all cosmos.
One of the best. What an absolute legend.
Very much. And the music, also very fun.
Yeah, I would say this is one of, if not the best video game soundtrack ever made.
No, I wouldn't go that far. But it's just nice because there's also like a lot of different styles. Sometimes there's singing, sometimes there's English, sometimes there's Japanese. So there's a lot of styles.
Like, I know, this is just a game that, like, it's impossible not to smile when you're playing and listening to the music. Like, it's just your happy place.
Yep. So, I mean, you have played this, right?
Oh, yes, I have. I also have it on Switch.
It was for how short it was, because apparently I only played it for 4 hours and I beat the game.
Oh.
That seems short, but it's like, yeah, but levels are kind of short. And that's just the nice thing about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, that's all I can say. It's a nice, fun time. If you have a little bit of time to waste, I would really recommend Katamari Damacy. It's just very nice. And I kind of hope they release the other games as like a re-release, but it's not necessary because apparently they do get a little too crazy with like the sizes and scale. It barely makes any sense anymore. But you know,
I mean, I do know that you have like Katamari Damacy, then you have the second game, and then and I feel like I heard that
Katamari's a third.
Yeah, and I feel like after that the game started like kind of lowering quality because the original creator wasn't on there anymore.
Oh.
And it was just like being made by Namco, Namco.
Even it's not just levels where you roll the ball into a bigger ball. Sometimes there's gimmick levels where it's like this one level definitely sticks in your mind. It's just like, okay, we need like the king actually tries for once and started work on Ursa Major. It's like, okay, but I'm missing one bear. Can you please go get one bear? And then the entire point of the level is avoiding all bears so you can actually get a big ball and a bigger bear, because he likes it more if you get a bigger bear. But like the level is completely littered with tiny bears. It's like you're rolling around avoiding bears and suddenly bear, and the level stops.
Yeah, like everything just stops and just screams bear.
And then, oh my god, I rolled this big ball and now I got a tiny bear and I just fucked up my goal.
Yeah.
It's stuff, I mean, it's just, I like it. I like the game. Get the game. It is fun.
Yeah, it's just a good time.
Okay. Now it's your turn, Lenny.
I guess, well, you already also, I think you also played it, but not this thing that I'm going to talk about.
It's a delicious last course. Oh, the delicious last course. One can eat their fill and still stay until the delicious last course.
I'm going to talk about Cuphead, but more specifically, it's a
the DLC?
delicious last course. It's a delicious last course.
Yeah, thing is, I've barely seen anything about the DLC. Like,
Yeah.
I guess I know all the bosses, and I know what the final boss is, but I haven't seen that much about it.
I mean, the basic thing about the Cuphead DLC, it's just more Cuphead. You go to an island, and then there's a few more bosses that you can fight. Yeah, it's simple. You know what's up. But the way they do add in other things, like, there's different kinds of weapons that you can get as well. Some new charms. And of course, the big thing is you can play as Miss Chalice, who has a very different moveset.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like basically, you can parry pink things, and you do it by jumping and then hitting the button again. For Miss Chalice, you just dash into a pink thing and you parry it automatically.
Oh.
And then if you hold down and then dash, you can do a roll, so you can duck underneath some projectiles as well. So there's
Is
some
that kind of
things.
like the smoke bomb dash?
Yeah, me too. So that's why I didn't really use Miss Chalice that much.
Oh, so you just used Cuphead or Mugman with
Yeah.
the smoke bomb dash?
Yeah, that's what I usually do.
I feel like I would do that too, because it's what I'm used to. I'll do better.
Well, the thing is, because when the DLC came out, I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna play Cuphead, like the entire game again, just because I want to, and then build up to the DLC. And the DLC is just more bosses. The bosses are really cool. The animation is fucking out of this world. Holy
I mean,
shit,
it always is, but is it actually just
no,
better?
but like in this one specific, like I can tell you very specific animations. Like, okay, probably the first boss you fight is like a big mountain man, like a living mountain, and he has like a very long beard, and there's like a bunch of little gnomes like working there, like mining, and he has a very specific animation where he like twirls his fingers and grabs a bear and like moves it across the screen to hit you, and the bear is like "Rawr!" and he's like giggling, but then immediately his face grows bored and you see like ugh, and then just throws the bear away, and you see it like "Whoa!" like fly away in the distance, and like that specific animation is so well done. Like, as an animator, this game is like crack. The animation is so beautiful. Like, oh my god, I can't tell you enough how beautiful the animation is.
I mean, it's kind of part of its selling point, right?
Yeah, of course.
Ever since Cuphead was announced, there's like, okay, we're actually going to do like classic animations. Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
The
But
efforts.
also, yeah. And like, especially in this game, like there's several bosses that are like, whoa, okay, that's very impressive how they did this. It's also a thing where they reference like some old Fleischer cartoons where the backgrounds are actually like a clay model.
Yeah.
That they move around.
Yeah.
They do a lot more stuff like that in this game where
In the DLC.
yeah, in the DLC there's some more stuff with that was very cool, and also cool because they did add in some fun stuff. Like, aside from the bosses, you can go to like a castle in the sky where you can fight the King of Games, I think the name is.
Yeah.
And the thing is, basically, it's a few, like, they're not real bosses, they're more like mini bosses. But the thing is, you fight those mini bosses, but you can't attack or anything. You can only defeat them by parrying. And it's like, oh, it's like a different kind of challenge that you can do now.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
I'm telling you, I've seen snippets of the game. So it's like, it is familiar. I remember the boss that swallows you.
Yeah, that's the mountain, then suddenly swallows you, and it's like, oh, jeez, oh, god. Yeah,
I remember the final boss.
Yeah, I definitely feel like several of the bosses are weirder in the sense that like the transition between like first phase, second phase, third phase are super, like, they're very different from each other. Like one of the bosses is this cowgirl.
Yeah.
And basically it starts off with like,
Doesn't it become a steak?
well, yeah, it's like a saloon. You have like a saloon, and she just pops her head out, and then she shoots you. But like, it's like basically she's encased in like a saloon. Then you break the saloon apart, and she starts galloping. But then she has like a large vacuum that she sucks up things and then spits it back out at you. And then you do enough damage, and then she dies and gets turned into a sausage. And then she's flying
sausage,
and then
sorry.
she's a flying sausage. And it's
Yeah.
like, what is going on? Like, they went even crazier in this one. And yeah, it's cool. And also, like you mentioned, like have you seen the final boss?
Well, so yes, but I can't tell you, oh, this is how the final boss goes. I know whomst is the final boss,
Yeah.
but I
Well,
I don't know exactly how it goes.
yeah. Well, of course, I'm not going to go into specific, but basically, the final boss is a better final boss than the final boss from Cuphead, and it might be the best boss in the whole game now. It is so good on so many levels, and the music is so incredible. Like, I mean, like, hey, the music in Cuphead is good, shocker. Like, the music in the DLC is fucking amazing as well. But again, like, everything about the final boss is so good. It's so amazing, so horrifying as well.
Okay.
Like,
yeah, I don't think...
Like, I literally went like, oh god, out loud as I was at some point during the boss. I was like, oh god, oh.
See, Eleni, that is why just recording everything is kind of neat. Like what I did with Violet. And now I'm retroactively very sad that I didn't do it with Arceus.
Yeah.
It was like, oh man, I wish I did that. Just general reactions sometimes. You just want your reactions to the actually interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, no, I'm just gonna end things off by saying, like, yeah, the Cuphead DLC, Delicious Last Course, is fucking amazing. It is just as good as the base game, if not, like, even more polished to a sheen. And I think this is, like, honestly, this was also a frontrunner for being my game of the year. Even though it's just a DLC, it is that good. So, like, for me, it is that good.
Yeah. Like, I think the odds for me of playing this are relatively low. Because it is my type of game that I'm not super fond of. I played Cuphead because I respected the craft and the effort. I was like, okay, I'll try that, and I had fun. But I don't yearn for more Cuphead gameplay.
Yeah, I get that, and it's like
I do respect the art and the craft, but
yeah, and it is true
gameplay-wise,
that like again, yeah, it's Cuphead, so it's like fucking hard, and because it's also like with the DLC, they weren't like, okay, let's just have like a base level of difficulty. It's like, no, you beat you beat like the whole game. Okay, this continues. Like, this is just as hard as like the end game stuff in Cuphead. I mean, most of it, and it's like, oh god, it's so difficult. Fuck, but it's good. It's still good. Some of it was like, I think some of it was difficult, especially for me, just because, you know, my Achilles heel is just having a lot of different elements moving on the screen at the same time.
yeah.
There was a lot of that in some of the Cuphead bosses.
Your
where I was-
Achilles heel is just having to act, and if the game forces you to act, it's like,
Okay, listen, I have many heals.
yeah. Lenny has so many heals. Lenny's all heal.
I'm all heal.
Sometimes we call him a heal fighter.
Yeah, but yeah, like that was a thing where I'm like, oh, like the mountain man. There's like, he's doing a thing, and then there's like moving platforms. Then there's also like little gnomes that are like running around, and sometimes they like climb up and like try to hit you with a pickaxe. And it's like a lot of stuff to keep track of. That stuff always messes with me. So yeah, I had a lot of trouble with the DLC. But I mean, I feel like if I can beat Cuphead and stuff, anyone can do it. That's like, yeah, just so good. I love Cuphead so much. Like,
Yep.
mwah, chef's kiss. Get it?
It's
'Cause-
nice to see a game like that do well because it really deserves it. Now I'm looking at the list. I don't have that many games left that you haven't played, at least. Let's go into this, and this will lead into another one
All
that we
ears.
might have a little to say about.
Take your seats, everyone. Welcome to Bad and Theater.
So yes, another game we played on the channel.
I thought you were going to talk about this one.
Of course I will. It's an indie game. No, okay. Bad End Theater. We did an entire playthrough of this. It's not a super long game, but it's just... Okay, let's go over this. The thing that grabbed me about it is I saw the art style, and I saw a little bit of the first few minutes of the game. I was like, you know what, this is interesting, I'm gonna play this. But then I didn't for a long time, and then I was like, you know what, maybe I should just play it with Lenny for the channel, because it just, I don't know, the Game Boy-ish style and like the very limited color palette just really grabbed me. And I'm like, okay, I'm interested in this story. And then, you get into the game and you feel like, yeah, it's gonna get to, it's just this story and just fun gameplay. You choose different paths and it leads you to different endings, but it's always a bad end, ha ha ha. And you start to think that's the entire thing. Okay, I feel like here we do need to talk about what it goes into to really capture the scope of the game. Okay, before I just outright go into full spoilers, I think the true end of this game is just so nice and charming.
Yeah.
It just needs to be played. It's adorable. It's not like an expensive or long game. So if you have a little time to spare, I would actually just really recommend this game.
Yeah, I think if
very nice.
If there's any part of you that's like, that might be interesting, then just go for it, because it's not long, so it's not a big time investment. It's not expensive, so it's also a cheap investment. Like if you're at any point like, oh yeah, maybe I would try to see what it's about, then yeah, just go for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, actually, I guess I don't need to go full like this is what the ending is like, because I kind of explained what it was like. But yeah, don't also be like, well, I've seen the game, it's fine, I got like 20 of the endings, I'm done. I would actually really go for the true ending, because it's just such a nice cherry on top of the story.
Mm-hmm.
And that's honestly about it. But I just want to reiterate that point for people who didn't watch a playthrough because they were like, it's not Paper Mario, I'm not watching this.
Yeah, it's just a very simple game, and when you beat it, you're like, that was nice. That was nice. I like that. And
the art is also very nice.
Yeah, very cute.
It's very charming. Good. All right. Then. Another game we actually played alongside Bad End Theater, but we didn't upload to the channel because I just felt like it outright did not fit the fun playthrough style we usually go for.
Definitely.
I'm not against like having some deeper and heavier topics, but the game we played was just it just felt very unfitting.
Mm-hmm.
And then I decided not to upload it. It actually made me, this is going to sound over exaggerated, but it's kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah, no. I mean, it does. It definitely does. It puts you in this bad, I mean, this mindset of
the
like...
game's called Milk Inside a Bag of Milk Inside a Bag of Milk.
Yep.
Go ahead, Lenny.
Yeah, it's definitely a game that's like, it just puts you in a weird mood. Like, basically what happens in that game is it's kind of just like a little narrative that you follow. It's also very short. And what it is basically you're just, it's very simple. You're just trying to help someone go to the store to grab a bag of milk. That's all it is.
Help a girl go to the store and buy milk for mom. That's it.
That's it. But then as you go there, read the dialogue, it's kind of like you
get a very deep and weird insight into the psyche of a person that has gone through some very heavy stuff.
Yes. And it is a game that really just puts you into that mindset and like really delves deep into the psyche of that girl and like the stuff that she's dealing with, the anxiety, like disassociating, maybe even like there's a lot of heavy stuff in there. So that's why, I mean, when we were playing, we were like,
and it doesn't end with like a nice little bow on the ending. It's just like the game is literally, hey, this is it.
Yeah,
like this is what it's kind of like.
Yeah, this is it.
Okay, that was game.
That was it. Yep, just a look
video game
into it, and I thought it was incredibly fascinating, and I still want to check out the sequel.
Yes, so the sequel was on sale. I bought it.
Okay.
And I was planning on playing it before this, but I was like, maybe not. It's probably not that long, but it was showcased in some kind of show, you told me, like the indie show.
Oh yeah, Nintendo did an indie showcase. Yeah, Nintendo did an indie showcase, and it was like, this game is coming to the Switch, and I was watching that being like, okay. Oof.
I do think it'll be a lot more of a game though.
It definitely looks way more like a game. Like the first one isn't really a game, it was more like a little narrative thing to read. I feel like the sequel is definitely more like, okay, now let's turn it into an actual thing where it's like, no, it's also going to be a lot longer probably. But but you say it's on sale?
I bought it, so it must be on sale.
All right, cool. Then I'll buy it as well, so we can both play
Check
it.
it out. I'll go to the store real quick. Milk outside. Yeah, the title is Milk Outside a Bag of Milk. Outside a Bag of Milk.
Genius title.
Right now, well, it's only for us it's $7.39. But it's
chill,
50% off, so it's $3.69.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'll get it.
Very cheap. I'll probably play it very soon. Also, I see like the trailer, and it actually has like decent looking animation, unlike the first game.
Yeah.
So I'm actually very interested. I might play it very soon. I hope it's not. There's probably going to be some fuckery like the first game. But if it's going to be more a game of a game, I think it'll be better. Also, I'm feeling kind of better myself now. And when we played Milk Inside Milk, I was feeling worse. So it's probably not the best time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very interested. I will play it soonish because I'm just interested to see what it's like.
Yeah.
As far as milk inside a bag of milk goes, if what we said is like makes you wary, if you'd like it, probably don't play it.
Yeah, like you really have to be up for it. Like I really liked it because I really like delving into like just knowing how different people with very different experiences, for me, like how they work, how they think and stuff. I find that super fascinating. So to me, I thought it was like a really interesting character study in like, okay, what is the mind like, this kind of person? But yeah, if it's like any like heavy topics like that, like, yes, it is heavy. So if you can't deal with that stuff, then I would all say maybe steer clear.
Well, and the quote unquote funny part about that is there might also be people who don't experience that kind of stuff and are very dismissive of it, that play it and are like, well, that was dumb. Nothing happened. Dude, that was a really bad game. There's
it's
people
not
like
the point.
I know. But it is definitely hard for people who just don't have those types of feelings and thoughts to actually like get into the thing. They're like they're just like, this is weird. That was dumb. And maybe that's for the better for those people. But yeah, only check it out if you're very curious. It's definitely not a big time, like, oh my god, it's really just extremely small and just insights into a broken psyche.
Yeah,
that's about it. Yeah. I think the outside game, it looks interesting, and I'm gonna try that. I think I might try it today. Who knows? Yeah, the tags are psychological, horror, visual novel, psychedelic. So I mean,
yeah, that fits.
Yeah.
Yep. Maybe to line things up a bit, I want to talk about another game that you haven't played, but I've already talked about it a bunch with you. It's Splatoon 3! Splatoon!
Oh, wait, I have music of that. I'll put it on.
Oh, of course you do.
1 second. Well, yeah, duh. Disc 2, I think. Yeah, let's go, baby.
Splatoon! It is very easy to be like, again, Splatoon 3? Not really? Like, this soon? And I totally understand that, and you're kind of right. Are
you talking about me or people in general?
People in general. I mean, I know you also think that, but like,
no,
it's definitely
my thing is I'll give my 2 cents before you can go off and talk about your experience. Hold up, I gotta close Steam because it's distracting me. Basically, like, my feeling towards Splatoon is I played Splatoon 1 and it was just like, yeah, I mean, I had fun with Splatoon 1. Then Switch came out, I bought Splatoon 2, and it's like, hey, you know what, the world and the characters, and then the DLC. It was all very fun. But at the end of the day, then now Splatoon 3 releases. Shooters and action games are not really my thing.
Yeah.
I got into Splatoon because, oh man, these character designs are fun. And then Splatoon 2, and the world. And I like a lot of aspects of the game. But the gameplay for me is just like very secondary. And if I were to buy Splatoon 3, I would play the single player, and that's it.
Yeah.
So is it really worth full price game just to do the single player and then not play the multiplayer? Because Splatoon 2, I never played Salmon Run, and I think I'm like level 11 in multiplayer. So it's just like, okay, if I'm gonna buy Splatoon 3 and do even less, it's not really worth the money. I like so much of the game, but it's just not really worth the price tag of just, hey, here's another Splatoon on the Switch.
Yeah.
I don't need this game. Even though I really like it.
Yeah, I get that. And it's completely valid. Like, I also agree that, and I would also say, like, yeah, if you're not going to play the multiplayer, you're only in it for, like, the single player, then yeah, $60 is not worth it.
Funny story though, I still don't know. I know who the final boss is of the single player, but I still don't know what it's like. I still haven't looked that up.
Well, in any case, and yeah, it is true that I was also like, wait, already Splatoon 3? This seems pretty soon.
But it's been 5 years.
I would have been perfectly fine if they just kept supporting Splatoon 2 for a little longer and just kept Splatoon 3 for later. But now that it's here, I'm happy with it because fucking Splatoon, it's fun. And it's definitely like on the surface.
I think it's weird because it feels like for you, it's just, hey, I have a reason to play Splatoon again. But I'm like, why don't you just play Splatoon 2 then?
Because you need to be in with like the hype stuff when it's happening, the Splatfests.
See, yeah, I mean, I get it. Like, this is not me hating on Splatoon 3, but for me, it feels like you bought it just so you can be part of the club.
Part of the club, yeah. I mean, that is honestly part of it, because I think one of the big things about Splatoon that I love is the fact that, like, my favorite part of Splatoon has always been the Splatfests, because that feeling of, well, okay, I need to pick a team, and then I can shit on the other team, and then you have to fight the other team, and it's like, yeah, let's go, and like everyone's sharing in this moment. That's when Splatoon is at its best, and that's why one of my fondest gaming memories in recent years has been the final Order vs. Chaos Splatfest in Splatoon 2. It was so good. And also knowing the fact that, you know, what we were doing was actually going to have an effect on the next game. Like, that just...
I wonder how much it did, though.
I do wonder. I have a secret, like, hope that the DLC that they're going to do with Pearl and Marina later is going to be, what if Team Order had won?
Interesting.
Yeah, like, so that's why the biggest thing for me was like, yeah, I just love being in the moment with everyone else when playing Splatoon. And with the Splatfest especially, I think this is the best Splatfests have been. The hub, which by the way is also like way better than the other hubs, where it's like, it's actually like a big town. We can actually like walk around and stuff and explore a bit. There's like little alleyways. It's very cool. But then during Splatfest, it's fucking beautiful, and you have Deep Cut are doing their performance on the stages. But again, the fact that they change up Splatfests is really cool, where you have the first part and the second part. First off, you have just the 3 teams and you're fighting willy-nilly, and you have 3 separate stages that just fly around throughout Splatsville. And, you know, each one has one of the idols on it, and they're singing and dancing, and they have their own song. And then in the second half, it's like, okay, this team is winning right now. So then the other 2 teams can band together in a tricolor turf war. And then during the second half, the 3 different stages like mash together from one big stage. And then they're singing their like the anthem together, all 3 of them. And it just works so well. It's a mix of the 3 separate songs together to form the anthem. That is just so well done.
Yeah, you can definitely see the music evolve from Splatoon 1 to here. It's like, yes, I do have the soundtrack on my PC. I love the soundtrack. It's amazing.
Yeah. And like,
I love it when Shiver goes, ah.
Yeah. Or when Fry goes, hey!
Yeah.
Yeah, like
I like Shiver and Fry.
Yeah, like they grew on me so much, especially during the single player. Like, yeah, they're really cool. But about the Splatfest as well, just the tricolor turf battles are really cool. Whether they're like entirely balanced, that's still like,
they changed them up, right? We're at the 3rd Splatfest, and now they're changing them up a little. Because people were complaining, oh, it's imbalanced. Yeah, people have been complaining about imbalance in Splatfest ever since Splatoon 1. It's like, guys, why do you care so much about this? It's inherently imbalanced.
Yeah,
you cannot balance Splatfests.
They're definitely like trying to change things up. Like, for example, during the pre-release Splatfest thing that they did to test the servers and stuff, it was very unbalanced. So then one of the things they did is, okay, how about when the actual game comes out, we're just gonna make the tricolor turf battles much less likely to appear. But
And
then
now
it
they
just,
never appear.
But then it just means that I play a Splatfest for like 3 hours and I get one single tricolor turf war. That's kind of bullshit. So there's definitely still like some work they need to do to like truly fine tune it. But you know, in Splatoon 2, they also changed a lot of like how Splatfest worked while during the game. So I'm sure they're gonna tinker with it and find something. Salmon Run is back, and it's also just really fucking fun and cool, and I love it.
And Lenny never uses his specials because his brain can't do two
best.
things at the same time.
Hey, last time I played, I was doing better.
Oh, congrats! I wasn't there to witness that.
True. It's not perfect though. Like, basically, you're just playing Salmon Run, but then there's a little meter that fills up as you're playing, and once that meter is filled, then if you win a Salmon Run, you have a chance for like the big boss to appear. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, oh, it's super huge, and what you have to do is basically, like, you have the king salmonid that's like wreaking havoc, but then other boss salmonids appear. You have to kill them to get the golden eggs, and they have to shoot those as cannonballs at the king salmonid to damage it. Mm-hmm. And there's like a big health bar they need to completely deplete. And I haven't been able to beat one. It's really hard. And the one thing that I think is like kind of like is that you know, depending on how you did, you get scales. You get bronze, silver, or gold scales, and then you can trade those in for like cosmetics. Like you can wear like different suits. There's like little props you can put in your locker. There's like splash tags you can get, but like you get so little scales that I haven't been able to get like basically anything in there.
Well, if you play Splatoon, you're supposed to play it a lot.
That's true. You're supposed to play it every day. There are a lot of things to incentivize you to play every day, because you now have the catalog that as you're playing, you gain experience, to level up, but you also gain experience for your catalog that fills up. And then every time you fill the bar, you get a reward. And basically the first time you play in that day, you get like a super big experience bonus.
Yeah, good.
So it's like if you get one in every day, then you get a lot of experience, and then you can probably get like fill up the catalog if you want.
And then you can dab.
Yeah.
Yes. Very
But
good.
I mean, not anymore, because we have a new catalog now because it's the winter season.
Wait, so you can't unlock the dab anymore?
No, there's new stuff now, but I'm assuming they're gonna come back regularly.
Excuse me? Okay, now I'm definitely not buying it. Just the dab is gone?
It'll be back at some point probably.
I mean, I'll wait then until... Well, I'm not going to buy it anyway. But maybe I'll buy it on clearance in 20 years. And then never get an update.
You'll buy it right before they shut down the Switch eShop.
Yep.
Speaking of like, all the multiplayer stuff, like, Turf Wars are still just as fun as ever. I really like it. The weapons are cool. And that is like the big thing for me, is that one of the reasons why I love Splatoon 3, and it might be the best Splatoon, is extremely subtle things. Like, they just made so many tiny little adjustments to just make it so that you have to wait less. Things load faster. Weapons feel smoother. Animations are tuned to be like a little bit smoother.
That's always very good, because I've seen videos on Splatoon 3 and it's just like, yeah, wow. Just animations in general.
Yeah, basically just like...
Your squid is just so good.
Yeah, I think the thing with Splatoon 3 is that the user experience, they just fine-tuned the fuck out of that and polished it to a mirror sheen.
Yeah, and it's the things you don't even notice when playing.
Yeah.
But if you actually pay attention, they're there.
Yeah, like looking back at Splatoon 2 and stuff, for example, I could suddenly see things like, oh wow, this is much better in 3. But then also stuff like, how... Like little things like, oh, if you don't like listening to the little ramble every time you start up the game, you can just skip it.
Finally.
While you're waiting for a match to start, you're not in a menu, you're in a lobby where you can just like run around and shoot and like practice against targets and stuff. Like there's so many things to just make it so that you can get started playing faster.
Yep.
Which is very good.
It's always nice.
So yeah, and on that front, like everything multiplayer is like, they're just Splatoon as you know it, but fine-tuned, which is very good.
Yeah, be honest. Outside of Slapfest, do you still play it?
No, I haven't played in a while. I played some when recently there was the big run, which is Salmon Run, but it's in like a stage, like a Turf War stage, but it is like actually changed up a little bit, and it has the same gimmicks where it's like there's high tide, there's low tide, there's mist, like everything, but the stage, and it was very cool. I actually really liked it. Another reason to just come back to the game. So I'm sure
Yeah, I
that when
guess.
there's Splatfest and big runs, I'm just going to get back and play it because it's just very fun. I guess the last thing is, of course, is talking about the single player stuff. Well, I mean, okay, there's also the lockers, decorating the lockers. It's fun. The controls are extremely finicky, which is not as fun as it could have been. Like, it's definitely cool, and you can see, like, all the players you've been playing against. You can look at their lockers, and some of them are really fucking cool. Like, you can make them very pretty. But, yeah, the controls...
put the meme head in there?
Yeah. But but then, yeah, then there's the card game, which is actually, like, I've played it a little bit more. It's actually kind of fun. It's just like a fun little time waster. There's not that much to it, but, you know, it's kind of fun. I like it. And then there's, of course, the big single player, Return of the Mammalians, which is very fun. I love the fact that it starts off exactly as your usual Splatoon single player, because they know it. That's what you expect, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's them Octarians again. They did it 2 times already, so this time, of course, it has to be the Octarians."
I love how the single player music at first is just like so unapologetically,
Splatoon.
Hey, it's Splatoon single player.
Yeah, it starts off just being like, "Yo, time for fucking Splatoon," and then after the first like few tutorial levels, then it's like, okay. Now the real single player starts, and then suddenly it goes for a completely different thing where it's more like Octo expansion, but expanded, because instead of just like, because like there's no because there's no like menu or anything, you're actually like on like there's different islands. You can explore those islands, and you can do levels in any order that you want. There's like secrets to find, and it's fun to just run around and explore those islands.
Yeah.
Then the individual levels themselves are just very well designed. I feel like in general they're just, I'm not gonna say they're like, oh, they're so much better than Octo Expansion, but it's like, you know, well, Octo Expansion was way better than the Splatoon single player. Well,
Yeah,
this is
I love the Octo
this
Expansion.
is definitely on the level of Octo Expansion. The level design is very well done. I mean, the plot is pretty fun. I like the single player made me love Shiver and Fry and Big Man, of course, way more than I otherwise would have. They're the best.
Is there Team Rocket?
They're basically Team Rocket, and it's fucking amazing. I love it. The ending goes fucking crazy and wild, and it's really cool.
A little too wild, you tell me?
Yeah, I like it when games go crazy, but I feel like Splatoon should be a little bit more grounded than how crazy it got here, despite the fact that Octo Expansion ended with a giant human like aesthetic statue that was going to shoot a massive laser beam.
I truly wonder what you mean by the fact that it goes overboard, because I still haven't seen it, so I'm so curious.
I mean, I can say one single word and you would get it.
a kaiju battle?
No, different word.
Okay. Because I think we talked about this before, and I felt like it was just like, you know, Octavio's robot versus giant bear, I think, is
No.
what you told me? No, okay.
Well,
Okay,
not,
but
not
no,
entirely.
it's fine.
Also, maybe in editing, bleep that, because I don't want to spoil it here.
Oh, you're gonna tell me?
No, I mean, you just said it.
Oh, but wait, it is that?
Well, no, not entirely.
Wait, hold up. How long has the game been out?
Okay, it has been out since September, so maybe
Yeah, I feel like we're fine.
maybe it's
Lenny.
okay. Okay, do you want me to tell you? I'll just do it, and people skip to this time if you don't want to hear it. Basically, Fat Guy, you are correct, except there is a very particular element missing, and that is space.
Octavio robot versus giant bear in space.
Basically, you fight the giant. Basically, you fight a giant evil bear on a rocket ship in space. But then Octavio saves you, and you're controlling the Octavio mech, and you're not fighting a giant bear in space. That's what Small Fry is for. Because the energy of all the sea creatures of planet Earth converge, and he turns into Huge Fry. And then there's a kaiju battle between Huge Fry and the bear. And then you're flying around to assist Huge Fry into defeating the bear.
Okay.
It's very cool, but I
I'm
feel
sure
like...
it's visually more interesting.
Oh, it's definitely very cool. Like, I still want you to check it out because it's very cool. I feel like Splatoon, like, going to space is a bit too much, I think, for Splatoon. But other than that, it's cool. And now I can also tell you, now that you know that, oh, it's in space, during the credits, the music that plays almost made me cry, because at some point they start playing Calamari Incantation, but it's being sung by all the voices of all the life on planet Earth, and you see the planet in front of you, and it's fucking beautiful, and made me cry almost. It was very beautiful.
You're so silly, Lenny, crying at the littlest things.
I mean, it's the specific things that get to me the most, the life-affirming shit. But anyways, okay, clap. Yeah, spoilers over.
Okay. Clap. It's done. We're done.
Yeah. And I mean, with that, that's all my opinions on Splatoon 3. It's really cool. I really, really like it. I want to play more when there's Splatfests and big runs. And I hope that they continue expanding the game with cool stuff. I mean, they're gonna add paid DLC. There's gonna be a cool single player thing. I hope that'll be cool.
So cool, pay DLC. I love paying for more content.
I mean, if it's as good as Octo Expansion, hell yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I like Octo Expansion.
But yeah, that's all for Splatoon. Okay, I want to hear about this one.
Well, so this year I also played Valhalla, or VA11 Hall A. colloquially known as Valhalla. And I feel like it's actually pretty old at this point, like 2017 or something.
Oh, it's definitely like,
or maybe
yeah, I would
older?
say, yeah, 5 years old, maybe older. Yeah, it's everyone's favorite cyberpunky like bartender simulator.
Cyberpunk bartender simulator. It is kind of what it is.
Yeah,
That is kind of what the game is.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
When I've told you a little bit about this. I think we talked about it during the Pokemon Nuzlocke a little bit. Because I gave my general thoughts there, but I mean, I guess I can go a little more in depth here. Basically, I just heard a lot about this game in the passing years, and people being like, "Hey, it's really good, actually."
Yeah, I know
a lot
it's
of people saying
well-regarded.
they love the game.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I mean, if it's like, you know, a little bit of anime style, and there's lovable characters, and you get to know them, maybe I'll actually really like this as well. So I played it, and generally, I'm pretty sure I don't think it's as good as people say it is, in my opinion.
Yeah. Why is that? Tell me.
There's a lot of characters, and you get to know them, you get to know their backstory, because, you know, they come to the bar and they talk about their day. And there's this narrative that keeps going throughout the game, and like, the world is kind of fucked up because the future is fucking the worst.
Yep.
There's just a lot of shit going down.
That's cyberpunk.
Yeah, and you get to know these characters and their backstories. And if you do certain things correctly, you might see special scenes with them. Basically, the core message of the game at the end is like, don't let shame and fear stop you from amending a hurt relationship. If it's with somebody you love, or even just like a friend. If like you had a fight and you said something actually really horrible, and then you go home and you're actually like, you think about it and you're like, you're so ashamed of what you said, you just can't face that person anymore. It happens. It's a relatable thing. And the message is like, okay, don't let that bother you. Just talk with them and everything will be all right. And it's a very nice message. And there's a lot of characters that have like their own stories, and there's like a lot of lessons like that in the game. And it's super nice, but the entire package sometimes can be a little boring, because sometimes there might be a character you don't like, and the gameplay is just like, oh, I want this drink, bartender. And it's like, okay, click, drag, click, drag, click, drag, shake, 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 shake. Here's drink. Okay, now continue the narrative.
Okay, and then it's just talking with the person in the bar.
Yeah.
Is there any kind of like decision making? Like they maybe ask something like, "Oh, what do you think?" And then you say like, "Oh, maybe you should do this or that."
Oh, not that I remember. There is decision making. The game kind of makes a bigger deal out of it than I think it ever was. But sometimes, like at the beginning, they say like, okay, sometimes there's drinks where the amount of alcohol you can put in is not specified, so you can either put in none or a lot. If you put in a lot, they might actually get a little tipsy.
Yeah.
So, and then they might give you more information about certain things. But I feel like it only came into play twice for me. Where like, I thought it was very funny to make people drunk.
Yeah.
And sometimes I tried, like, okay, here you go, drink one unit of regular and then like 9 units of alcohol. Woohoo, let's go. But then
Jesus.
sometimes people just don't get drunk. And it's like, but you told me it was a thing.
Yeah.
these are very minor things. And overall, I think the narrative is fun. But also, like, Cyberpunk isn't really my cup of tea.
Yeah, maybe the aesthetic also wasn't exactly
But
your
it
wheelhouse.
was generally pretty. It was a nice experience. I would still recommend it, but the gameplay isn't really anything. It's just like you make drinks and that's it.
Yeah.
There's also like some weird meta shit that I don't really know why is even in the game. So like there's this character that only your player character can see, and is like a character that died in the past, but they're like they appear in the TV, and then sometimes they appear out of the TV, and they can also still mess with like objects and stuff. Oh, it's extremely weird, and it's like they do play into the game because at the end a character mentions like, oh yeah, they died, and it's like, yeah, okay, but why can I see them? Maybe I wasn't following pre-release stuff, and maybe that's it. But I feel like if you're gonna reference some stuff that wasn't actually part of the game, it shouldn't play such big a role in the game, because I'm just left confused.
Yeah.
Because I don't consume any of like the separate media that's not in the game. But I mean, these are just minor complaints from me. The game was fun, but it was not as fun as I thought it would be, seeing how people were like, dude, it's so good.
Yeah.
So I guess that's about it for Valhalla.
I know they were working on a sequel, but I think it's in development hell.
Oh, well, that's too bad. Also, weird tangent. I'm doing finger quotes. My waifu, you can't see my finger quotes, but my waifu in this game, for some reason, wasn't the shy one this time.
What?
It was actually the muscle waifu.
Get out of town.
But she's kind of like a ditzy, like not really ditzy, but like not the smartest, but like a very, very positive muscle waifu. And it was really nice. I liked her. Like,
Cool. I must have seen some screenshot of this game at some point, but I don't know anyone in this game. So
yeah, and
I'll
I
take
actually
your word
unlocked
for
her
it.
special scene, and then you talk behind the bar about how she's kind of traumatized about stuff, and it was actually very nice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just like she's such a positive person, but then there she breaks down, and it's like, oh, good scene, good scene. I liked it. Yep. You want to say something?
No, yeah, I'm good. Like this is also definitely a game that I heard of a lot, and I also heard like just generally like extremely positive things. Yeah, maybe it was less your thing. I don't know. Maybe I'll check it out.
If there's
at
people
some point.
here who really liked it, tell me why you really liked it. And I think the case might be that for some people there's things in here that are so extremely relatable.
Yeah,
that
maybe
they
it's just like specific characters with specific conversations where they just see themselves, and like it's very relatable. I think
it's
that's
even
one
about
of those
racism,
games.
and like there's a lot of topics that get brought up, and they're all handled pretty well.
Yeah, I think you just need to
So-
find like the one character that you really gel with, maybe.
I think there's one group of people that just might find this extremely relatable, because like half of the cast is either, well, I mean, I guess it's the same word for both male and female. Half of the cast is gay, so I think that might be a big part. I'm not dissing you guys, like that's great.
Yeah, it might make things more relatable. Definitely.
Yeah,
It's cool.
that's about it. Tell me why you really liked it, if you really liked it. I didn't hate it, so don't get me wrong. I enjoyed my time, but I thought it would have been. I thought it would have been better the way people talked about it,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's about it.
Then I guess I can also talk about a game that actually I also thought it was pretty good, but from all of the hype around it, I also expected it to be just a bit better, and that is Death's Door.
What's that again? I
Death's
heard about
Door.
that.
Death's Door. It's a top-down, isometric, 3D, and you play as like a little crow with a sword, and you have to go around collecting souls. Because you work for, you basically work to collect souls of the dead. You know, it's your usual like top-down Zelda-ish, but you have a dodge roll, and then you do like sword swipes. The plot of the game is pretty cool. Like the visual style is great. You're like a crow, and you work for like a bureau that handles the processing of souls. But then there's basically a soul that you were supposed to get that got stolen by a big nasty crow, and then you follow it, and then basically you need to collect 3 big like boss souls from characters who just basically refused to die, so their soul got bigger and bigger, which made them go crazy. So then you can go through death's door and go get your soul back. The gameplay, you can fight enemies, and as you defeat enemies, you collect souls that you can then use to upgrade your stuff, like your rolling speed, your running speed, your like how fast your attack is, how strong your attack is. There's a few different weapons you can find, like you have a sword. That's just like your basic sword. Then you have like a pair of scissors where your attacks are weaker, but you attack way faster. You can unlock new abilities they can use both in combat and to like traverse. You can unlock a fireball that you can shoot. That you can also use to light torches or like hit switches. You get like a grappling hook. Basically, it's like you're just in an overworld, and then at some point you get to like the quote-unquote dungeon, and then at the end of the dungeon you fight the boss. The boss fights in this game are really fucking cool. The music is really nice. The story is pretty good too, but then the things is like, I know, I heard about Death's Door a lot. I know a lot of people were also talking about like, oh, it's one of the best games of the year, etc. So when it came out on Switch, I was like, oh shit, I really wanted to play this game. But the thing is, everything in this game is good. Some of it is even great, but like, I don't know. There's some small parts where I'm like, but Like, for example, like one of the big things for me was you can upgrade your stats, but the thing is the increments are so tiny. Oftentimes it's like, oh yeah, I'll upgrade my attack speed, boop, and then I start attacking, I'm like, I can't tell any difference. And that's something that really, like, that stuff like that can really, it's not like super frustrating or whatever, but it's like, I don't know, something like that gets to me where it's like, if I upgrade stuff, I want to feel like, oh yeah, I upgraded it. But most of the time, it was just like, I guess it's an upgrade, maybe, I can't really tell. And like, then I upgraded 2 more times, and it's like, okay, now I can see a difference.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that's kind of, like, you don't want to the singular level ups to scale too quickly. So I kind of get it.
Well, true.
You're not immediately going to go for, like, in Hollow Knight, from regular nail to Mark of Pride nail. That would just be silly.
Yeah, no, but in Hollow Knight, it was more clearly, there was a more clear difference. Like, or like, for example, in Hollow Knight, you have your normal running speed, but then if you put on the charm to make you run faster, you see like, oh yeah, I'm running faster now. Then also the regions where you are, like the overworld, it's very big as well. A lot of very like winding paths. There's a lot of like, taking the long way and then opening a little shortcut. A lot of that going around. The one thing, but again, this also might just be a me problem, is that there is no minimap. There is no map at all. So if you need to go back to places to just find stuff that you missed, because there's a lot of, there's a lot of hidden nooks and crannies, a lot of secrets in this game to find. Some of them very obscure.
That's fine, I think, if they're not necessary.
And if there's no map, I mean, I get it, true, but I also feel like it can kind of work against it because a lot of, so you start off, like the first area, it's the Lost Cemetery. It's all like, gravestones and ruins and stuff. But I feel like a lot of the areas within that overworld, there's still a lot of very samey looking areas, so that it is easy to get confused about which way you need to go to a specific place.
Yeah.
I realize that it's more of a problem with me than for other people because my sense of direction is generally pretty bad.
Yes, that is a thing. Holy shit.
So I'm sure that it won't be as much of an issue for other people, but for me, there was definitely several times where I'm like, God damn, where do I need to go? Like, I need to find this place. I know the place I need to go, but just how do I get there? And at the end of the game, there's also like to 100% the game. Like you have your main hub, and then you take doors to go to all of the different areas. And there's a thing where it's like, oh, if this door is like glowing or whatever, that means, oh, there might be something you missed over there. But then once you get in there, there's literally no way there's zero direction about like, okay, but what is it that you're missing? Because it could be a specific door you haven't unlocked to fight like a mini boss maybe, or like, a weapon upgrade, or maybe it's like a life seed that you use to like unlock points where you can heal. Maybe it's one of those that you missed somewhere. I don't know.
It's very classic design where it doesn't tell you things.
Yeah, in some aspects, it maybe like leaned a bit too much into that kind of old-timey design. I mean, it's definitely not as like, it's not awful, but again, it's like it's just a really solid game But then there were just tiny little things that dragged it down a little bit for me. But I mean, I still really liked it. But I know when I played it, I was like, yeah, oh yeah, that was fun. But it wasn't like, oh fuck, oh yeah.
Well, so like it's very Zelda-like, right?
Yeah,
Maybe you should play Tunic instead.
true. I really want to play
We
Tunic.
won't talk about it because neither of us has played it, but Lenny's been selling it to me very well.
Yeah, even though Tunic, I feel like it goes. I mean, I don't know because I don't know that much about Tunic other than just seeing basic gameplay. But I feel like Tunic is even more goes even harder into like very obscure secrets. But I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
Maybe that's for next year.
Maybe yes. I really want to play it. Like it's out on the Switch, but it runs kind of.
Well, buy it on Steam then.
Is it? Well, yeah. It's probably is on
It
Steam.
must be. I will check for you. Also, I really need to go to the bathroom. I told you I would have.
Yep.
Tunic. Oh, that's probably on sale. It's 10% off. No. I mean, you can wait for a little longer, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, I have other games in my backlog that I need to play. So.
Yeah, but isn't it like there's an instruction booklet and you change rules or something? It's like very
No, it's
strange.
it's not like that. But basically, there is an instruction booklet that tells you like how to play the game, but it's completely written in a fake language.
Oh.
So you need to translate the instruction. Like a part of the game is translating the instruction booklet so that oh, I can do this. Oh, I need to do this thing,
Yeah, okay.
or it's something along those lines.
Yeah, I mean, I'll add it to the list, but oh my god, help. Like, that's so crazy. This year, I knocked out so many games on my list, and somehow more got added than I actually knocked out. How is this possible?
That's just reality, dude. We're in the same boat.
Because I waste my time replaying games I've played 10 times already.
True.
Like Sticker Star, wow! I'm gonna go pee.
Yeah, I'll go pee as well.
Oh, okay.